Be sure to cook. Okay, welcome back to another episode of Be Sure to Cook. Now, we're making something a little bit different, and this is like party food totally. We're making a cheese ball. We're going to be using different types of cheeses, and we're going to make this cheese ball really good. So stay tuned and let's do this homemade cheese ball. Okay, I'm going to be starting off with cutting some Velveeta cheese. Now, with this cheese ball, I'm going to use half of this Velveeta cheese because half of this I'm going to be using for something else. So I'm going to use half because we're going to be using we're going to make a small cheese ball. So let's put this in the middle here. Okay, we're going to wrap this part up. And then we're going to put this back. Once you use a block of Velveeta, I want to let everyone know, I'm pretty sure you do, so if you think, hey, just shut up, you know, y'all know how to do it, but for people who don't, you can use as much of it, and then you make sure you want to wrap it back up, put the top back on it, and make sure you refrigerate this at all times, right after it's been opened. It can sit out on your shelf for months before the expired date, but you want to make sure that once you open it and you use it, make sure you restore it really good, put it in your refrigerator, and you can last this baby up until the date almost expires, but you must use it before the date expires. Okay, I've got half of this cheese, and I'm just gonna slice these down into about 1-inch thick blocks. That might be a little bit too fat, but I just slice it back down. Okay, so what I want to do is, I really want it this size. I'm going to cut these in half, and I'm going to cut these in small blocks because I want these to, I'm going to food process these, and I want this to be, you know, smoothed out very, very easy. So I'm just going to cut these in small blocks, you know, small cube sizes. You can do it in big cube sizes because it's going into the food processor, but it takes a hard time to smooth them down. So I thought if I cut them up smaller, tiny sizes, it'll smooth in very well. So let me do this, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so I cut them up in small blocks like this, and all of them cut up, and I put it in this bowl. I'm gonna set this to the side because now we gotta chop nuts. Okay, I got some chopped walnuts. And I'm gonna use about a half a cup of the walnuts. And that's a half a cup. Yeah, half a cup of walnuts. I'm gonna chop up. And I wanna chop these nuts up a little fine. You can put these in your food processor also. It'll probably be great for you to do that. But when I tell y'all, I just love chopping stuff. It just makes me feel like I'm doing something. But the food processor probably would be a lot better because you can get it at the size you want. I really want it like a crumble size. But I'm just gonna go ahead and smash these and just chop these. Okay, I know that I'm chopping all this stuff by hand. Let me tell you, I'm probably used to chopping. See, back then when I started cooking, when I was a very young girl, we didn't have food processors and mixers and all that. So I did everything by hand. I used to mix a cake, I swear to God. I used to mix a cake just like I was using a blender. And I used to take a cake and I used to mix it up. You never would guess what I used to mix it up with. I used to mix it up with a metal mashed potato maker. You know, the mashed potato, the old timey ones that's metal that curve in and out like that, and you just to mash the potatoes. Honey, I would take a cake and make that cake so moist, it would actually turn a different color. Because if you mix cakes really good and you keep mixing them with a blender or your hand, it actually changed colors and turned to like a pretty color, like you were making a taffy. You know, taffy starts off for a darker color, and if you keep, you know, mixing it like that, it starts to turn a goldy, pretty color. And that's how I used to make cakes. And I used to chop everything and make everything by hand. So I'm just kind of used to doing that. Now they got all these gadgets, which they probably already had them, but back then when we were growing up, we were too poor to have any of those. So we did everything by hand. I did everything by hand. I started cooking at 6, so I always love cooking. It relaxes me, and I don't know, I just love to cook and see what people think about my food. If they liked it, if they didn't, I would say, okay, maybe that was a bad idea, or maybe I need to make it a little bit better and figure out what they didn't like about it. It just made me happy to cook. I don't know why. I've always did that. It makes me happy to chop and to do things like that. I mean, I'm just a real type of person that does that. So that's why I do things by hand. But look, I'm getting this stuff just like you would do in a food processor. Look how, go get down on that. Look at that. Some of this is like crumbs. And I will chop that until it is crumbs. Now, after I got through chopping it, I'm putting it in my bowl. Now, these are kind of fine. Some people might want a little coarser nuts. I kind of like them fine because when I chase a cheese ball, I want a little nut, but I want, you know, the cheese ball. You know, I want to taste the cheese ball. I don't want to spread my cheese ball on a cracker with big fat nuts. I mean, I don't, but if you like it like that, you can chop your nuts any way you want to chop them. You can chop them heavy. You can chop them medium, or you can chop them fine. I kind of like mine fine. You can chop yours any way you want it. My husband might say something, I'm making powder, something crazy like that, but that's what I like, fine nuts. All right, before you do anything, before you chop, start your cheese ball, maybe the thing you need to do is you need to set out a whole 8 ounces of cream cheese, and you want to set that to room temperature. So you can set that out, get to chopping all your stuff, and it should be done about 30-35 minutes sitting out for room temperature. So what I did, this is room temperature. I set out cream cheese that I'm going to put into my food processor. So let me open this. All right, here's my cream cheese, softened cream cheese. I'm going to dump this into my food. Well, you know what? I'm going to cut it. You know, sometimes you get those feelings like something's going to happen. It's going to be a big mistake. That's where I'm at right now. So there we go. And I'm going to scrape the rest of this off the bag. And I'm just going to, because I don't like wasting anything. I want it all. Because I'm greedy when it comes to leaving stuff behind. All right. So now that's out. That's the 1 thing of Philadelphia cream cheese. Okay, let's blend this up, guys. pulse this. Okay. You can tell I really don't use all these gadgets I have all the time. Okay. So I'm gonna pulse this again. I want to get this nice and smooth. Pulsing that. Now, after I pulse that, I'm going to add maybe a teaspoon of mayonnaise. That's a teaspoon of mayonnaise inside here to get it nice and emulsified. Okay, after I do that, I'm going to take it, make sure that mayonnaise is in. It's just a teaspoon of mayonnaise in there. And I want to make sure I emulsify that because I don't want it to be too thick. I'm going to pulse that. Okay. Now as I'm pulsing that, I'm going to put it on a low speed. And I'm going to start dropping in some of these little small blocks of cheese. I drop all of these in. And I want to make sure they get real nice and creamed up. And I'm almost finished with this. My bow. That mayonnaise really did loosen it up. So you want a teaspoon of mayonnaise. Some of that drop. Alright, that is all in there. Alright, I want to mix this around a little bit. And I'm going to put it back in there. Look at that. Perfect. I just want to make sure I got all my cream cheese, make sure all that mayonnaise and everything, and that mayonnaise made it loose. You won't be able to taste that. We're going to mix this back up again, and this time I am going to be adding a half cup of a different cheese. I'm going to use a little bit. You can use any type of cheese you want. You can use goat cheese, you can use any kind of cream cheese, but I'm going to be using a little bit of Asiago. I did a half cup of real fine shredded Asiago, sorry. I'm going to go ahead and mix that up in here. I'm going to add about a teaspoon. That's just me. I'm doing this. I think it might be a little bit good. I know it will because I've done it before. Just a teaspoon of dry parsley to give it a little flavor, just a little bit, a half a teaspoon, just a little bit, not as much. And let's go ahead and mix this back up. Now I'm adding in my Asiago, just a little bit of that. To give it a little flavor. Just a little bit of that. garlic powder. Just add a little bit of that in there. Get that mixed up in there really good. Alright, what I did, it's gonna look a little loose, just a little loose. That's why we put the little teaspoon of mayonnaise in there, because it would have been too thick and it would probably, you don't want it to burn out your motor. And what we did is, after we did this, you can also use chopped bacon in here if you want, or put chopped bacon on the top. You know, you can put whatever flavor you want in here. So what we do now, we need to get this spread out before it gets too thick, because this has got to be chilled in our refrigerator. So we're going to take some plastic wrap, and we're going to spread this plastic wrap out. I added a tablespoon and a half of dry parsley to my nuts. Now I'm just going to swish these around. Ain't that pretty? Oh yeah, that's pretty. Give a little color. I like color. And parsley's very good. Alright. Okay, so I'm going to take this, put some nuts down, and I'm going to spread the nuts and the parsley that we have and make that all around. And I'm going to put my cheese ball in there. Okay, this is the cheese glob. I call it a cheese glob. I'm going to take it out of here with another spatula. Oh, if I can, it's so thick. We're going to spoon this all on here. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. And this is on parchment paper. Make sure when you do this, you clean your board or whatever you're making. Whatever you're going to put it on, you want to spread your wax paper or your any type of paper you got on there. What am I using here? Plastic wrap down on the surface, and then you want to put this all on top. So what I did is I'm like taking this cheese ball, and I'm kind of like taking it from all that plastic wrap I had, and I'm kind of like rolling it. You can do it in a blog, or I'm sticking more nuts on top of this, and then I'm saving some of the nuts, and I'm taking my plastic wrap and I'm going to flip it over on the other side. Yeah, and then I'm going to take the nuts on here and put them on this side here. Opening up my plastic wrap. Come on now. Plastic wrap. So I can sprinkle it on there good and even. Because see, it's collecting all the wetness. But when it goes in the refrigerator, all this is going to salt up really nice and good. See? You can mold it in the shape that you want it. In a log or a blog, you know, make it like a meatloaf. Flip it back over. You want to use the rest of all these little fine nuts. Remember those nuts that we did earlier? Okay, so with this paper that I got, I flipped it, rolled it up into a ball, and flipped it, and I'm kind of balling it, and then I put some plastic wrap into the bowl that I'm going to be putting in. I'm going to lift this up like so, and I'm going to lay that in there, so, like so. And my nuts, I should have saved a little bit more, but they're all gone in this bowl. Okay, then I'm just going, I took the the plastic wrap, I put it into the bowl, clean, and the other one I discarded, and I put it in here, and I took it and wrapped it over, and I'm slamming it on here so it can just, now it goes in the refrigerator with the top on here, and you let it stay in the refrigerator for 24 hours. The next day, it's going to firm up within about an hour or 24 hours, And then we'll show you when it firms up how it's going to be. So stay tuned. You get to come and try some cheese ball with me. All right, guys. It came out of the refrigerator and it's been in there for 24 to 12 hours. You know, whenever you want to serve it. This has been overnight. Look at that. There it is. Now, that is wonderful cheese ball. Let's plate this up. Okay. Here it is, the cheese ball that we did together. I took the cheese ball, and since it was in the plastic wrap, what I did is I took a plate or a platter and I transferred it, turned it upside down, transferred it onto a platter, and then I just put some crackers around it, and then here you go. This is a cheese ball that we did together. Okay, this could be at a great party. You know, you can do this. Make sure you do this a day before you have your party so it can be nice and cold and chill. Hey guys, I hope you like this recipe and I hope you come back for more recipes that we did together. Because you know what? I didn't make this alone. We did this. You and me. We did this together. So please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I would like to hear your comments. I would like to hear what you're thinking. Hey guys, I love you. Let's come back. Let's do something else again. See you next time. Bye.